Okay, let's unpack this. There's some pretty big news swirling around the crypto space, specifically Solana. It really looks like the push for US-based Solana ETFs is, well, gaining serious momentum.
Definitely picking up steam.
And there's this one feature everyone's zeroing in on, which is clear from the sources you shared,
Yeah,
staking.
that's the key element, yeah.
So we're going to deep dive into these recent SEC filings, look at what the financial experts are saying, really trying to understand what's happening, what are the big questions, and maybe what's next.
Absolutely right. And the core fact, just to start, is that multiple applicants have formally filed. We're talking S1 registration statements with the SEC.
Multiple. How many?
Well, just on June 13th alone, 7 different applicants filed their S1s.
7. Wow.
Yeah. And crucially, these aren't just basic filings. All of them include very explicit staking language.
Okay, so they're putting it right out there. Staking is intended to be part of the product.
Exactly. The industry is clearly signaling we want to offer staked Solana within these ETFs.
7 filings on one day. I mean, that shows incredible interest, a real coordinated push.
It does. And we're talking big names here. Fidelity, 21 Shares, Franklin Templeton, Grayscale.
Bitwise, Canary Capital, VanEck too, right? They were early amended.
That's right. VanEck amended theirs. So a serious lineup, but, just because the filings are in.
Doesn't mean approval is around the corner.
Yeah.
Especially with the staking piece.
Precisely. And this is where the expert analysis comes in. James Seifert, the Bloomberg ETF analyst, his commentary is in the sources.
Yeah, what's his take?
He's pretty skeptical about a near-term approval, like in the next few days or even next week.
Yeah.
He points out, and it makes sense, that getting these ETFs approved usually involves a bit of back and forth with the SEC staff.
Right, refining the S1, ironing out the details. We saw that play out with Bitcoin and Ether ETFs.
Exactly. It just takes time.
And staking is the real curveball this time, isn't it? It's different from just holding the asset.
That's the novel issue. It makes these filings different from the spot Bitcoin ETFs and even adds questions compared to the spot Ether ones. Staking isn't passive holding.
It's active participation, validating transactions, earning yield.
Right. So for an ETF, that raises new regulatory questions. How does that activity fit securities law? How's the yield handled? What are the mechanics inside that ETF wrapper?
Okay.
Seifert notes that, while lessons from past approvals help, they don't just automatically solve the regulatory puzzle around staking itself.
So staking is the core challenge for the regulators here. And it's not just Solana facing this, right? Ether ETFs are also waiting for the green light on staking.
That's what's really interesting. Seifert has actually sort of floated the idea that maybe the regulatory approval for staking in Solana ETFs could theoretically happen around the same time the SEC approves it for Ether ETFs.
Oh, interesting. A parallel track.
He stresses it's just theoretical, no inside info, but it raises a point. Maybe the SEC is looking at staking across different proof-of-stake assets together, aiming for consistency.
So the Solana decision might be tied up with a bigger regulatory picture on staking.
It seems plausible the timing could be linked.
Okay, so the market's ready, filings are in, but the timeline, especially for staking approval, is uncertain. Depends on this complex review, maybe even linked to Ether. Near term looks doubtful, according to analysts like Seifert. But what about longer term? Is the market still bullish?
Well, looking further out, sentiment seems much more positive. Bloomberg Intelligence, for instance, they boosted their odds for a spot Solana ETF approval in 2025 way up to 90%. That was back in April.
90% for 2025? That's pretty confident.
It is. And Eric Balchunas, another Bloomberg analyst, he recently talked about a potential Altcoin ETF Summer, possibly next year, with Solana likely leading.
So 2025 seems like the time frame many are watching.
It creates this interesting contrast, right? Skepticism about right now, but strong bullishness looking towards next year. And remember, Consensus founder Joe Lubin mentioned back in January that Ether issuers were hoping for staking approval soon. So this has been on the industry's radar for a while across different assets.
Right. So it's a complex situation. Industry's made its move. Staking is clearly on the table in these filings. But the when and the how for that staking approval, that's the million-dollar question, tied to regulations, maybe tied to Ether. Experts are cautious, short-term, bullish for 2025. Definitely a lot for you, the listener, to keep an eye on.
Precisely. It is a complex path forward. And, this all raises a final question for you to think about. Given that staking offers this potential yield, this income stream, on the underlying crypto, how might the SEC's decision on whether to allow that inside the ETF structure actually impact how attractive these ETFs are compared to just, holding Solana or Ether directly yourself. Something to consider.